So I started doing puppy training classes and one-to-ones and just trying to make a living that way. I was working full-time at the beginning. So I was like, it might not work out. So I need to be sensible, need to make sure I've got something that I can work on. And I remember, Vicky, actually, I do remember meeting you at like probably my first ever conference. I remember feeling like such a kind of small thing. Like I didn't know, I felt very I didn't know anything. I remember being like, how do these people know all these things? Like their dogs are amazing. I remember your dogs. I just loved them. And it felt at that time, like going back like 11 years, like at that time, I just never knew how I was going to make it. And I suppose what I did was just started and then hoped that it would all work out. And it did. But I think what happened was I started running the puppy classes. They got busier. Started doing one-to-ones, they got busier, went from full-time to part-time, went from part-time to a different part-time job in a vet's while I was doing it, which really helped kind of get word of mouth out there. I think part of it was like anything that came up, I just would make sure I volunteered myself. So if someone needed someone to stand for a conference, I would be there. Like I would drive up, spend my whole day for free to do it. If someone needed a volunteer to help with something else, I would be there. I think that really helped kind of make a lot of connections and meet a lot of people in the industry. And from then on, I just was like full in, keep going. And then it got to the point in 2018, 2019, where I was kind of like, I would say I was flying quite high. Like I had a celebrity client, so I was seeing them. Like
I was saying this on our way here. I remember you having a celebrity client. We were talking about training celebrities' dogs, weren't we? I was like, I'm sure Lauren's trained somebody's dog that's famous.
Yeah, and it was like quite a long time. I used to like stay in their house and like do residential training. I'm not going to say who it was because, although weirdly, they never asked me to sign any like disclaimer. I was just there. So technically, I could, be saying who it is, but I never do because I don't want to. But I was doing them and I was doing like a bit of TV work and I was training other trainers. I was doing loads of stuff. I was traveling around and it was kind of like I was at this peak of everything I'd wanted from when I started like seeing you at that conference being like, I'll never get there, got to the point. And then I just realized like, I don't know, it wasn't quite fitting. Like I kind of got everything that I wanted, but I was like, I just can't see myself keep going with this. And I don't know why. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because I'm quite a homely person and actually really I like being at home. And that's why online works so well for me. I don't know what it was, but definitely 2019 was a bit of a turning point of like, I've done all of this, but it's actually making me feel quite stressed. Like I feel like a huge burden. I feel really stressed by all the stuff that I'm doing. I don't feel really kind of happy. Like it was a really weird time.
Yeah, just stopping you there actually. So do you feel, because you're a real people person, aren't you? You're really sociable and that's why we got on so well because we both sort of clicked in with. Do you feel like it was such hard work to be everywhere and to be everything to everybody? Because I remember you doing so much stuff and just my gosh, Lauren, you're like here, you're there, you're everywhere, and it must get to you.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's that when I don't know if you just change as you get older. I don't know. Like when I was younger, I would always said like I'm an extrovert, like I'm a massive social people person. And now I'm like, I don't know whether I'm just a really extroverted introvert. But it seems really odd, but I actually really love being at home. But I don't know whether that's a change. And that change just coincided in sort of 2019 with going, because like I love being with people. I'm a real people person, but I'm definitely like, I need to go home. Like I need to
need some space.
I always say to my husband, like I need decompression time. Like if we've been at an event. So I don't know whether it was just I was doing something that maybe. I don't know. I still look back and I'm like, I don't know what it was, but I think what was important was that I was able to go like, this isn't where I'm going to keep going. Because I think if I keep going, I'll get really resentful. And I wasn't at that point. I still loved it. And I still loved all my clients and doing all the things and meeting everyone. But I just could feel like I just don't think I can carry on. But coincidentally, in 2019, right at the end, I was like, right, next year, I'm going to really try and make it online. Like, I'll just give it a go. Again, that kind of imposter syndrome, who am I to make it online? So obviously it was 2019, and I was kind of thinking to myself, right, next year I'm going to really try and take it online. So again, I didn't really know much about it. I was just like, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. And then obviously the next year we had the pandemic and everything that went on with that. But it meant that a lot of people were forced to go online. And so a lot of people went online and then kind of went back to in person, but I went online and then just stayed online, which was, I feel really lucky to be able to do, because I know that not a lot of people have done that. But also I feel like a lot of people don't suit the online space because it's so different to being in person. So so it went from there. And I would say even online, I mean, 2019 was 5 years ago. Like I can't compute. Like, yeah, such a long time. So even being online, over that time, I've changed from very much doing one-to-ones directly with people, working very, very, very closely with them, holding their hand, being with them sort of 5 days a week on WhatsApp and message and calls. And now it's very much more of a courses and membership, like here's everything you need and you can go and do it. So it's almost changed even more to, giving people the tools that they need to be able to go and do things. So even within that short amount of time, there's been a change. So it's one of those journeys that's very, there's so much more I could go into, but there's lots of, going in one direction and then stopping and thinking, okay, let's assess. Okay, let's try something new, and let's assess and let's try something new. So it's a interesting one for sure.
I love that, because I think everything you've said is typically the trajectory that many people in dog profession tend to go on. Like you say, they've either gone down the academic route, or even if they've not necessarily done the degree, they've gone through umpteen amounts of CPD courses. And as we know now, the majority of those are lifetime access online courses. And then it's oh gosh, now what do I do with that? Am I going out? And then, like you say, like typically going into one-to-ones or some group classes and what have you. And what I really love about your story is that you have shifted with it, and you've even in that last little snippet with you saying, oh, you try this and then you reassess, and then you try this and then you reassess. And for me, I don't think enough of us in this profession actually stop to do the reassessment bit. We almost keep going. And arguably, like, we've been having these conversations for, God, the last couple of years now, in going, if you was to look at dog training, even from like the 90s and the early 2000s, the whole mechanic of it all, the whole structure of how people run their businesses is exactly the same. It doesn't seem to have moved on. And then, like I say, kind of going into this online space now, it's what I'd like to kind of dig in a little bit deeper with you on that is, you made a conscious decision to want to go into online before the world was kind of, air quote, forced to go into it. So what was your decision behind wanting to go into the online space?
I think it goes back to that. I think for me, so obviously when you're running a puppy class or you're running a one-to-one, you're in this role where you're very much, you're responsible and you're teaching, and I suppose you're taking on that responsibility during the time, and you have to be on form all the time. So you have to be, like we said, a very people person. And I think, and you're out a lot. I suppose some people could run it from their home if they had the right setup. I don't know, but you're generally out and about a lot. And I think for me, it was very much a reassessment of actually what I wanted my home life to look like. So I knew that I didn't want to work weekends and evenings. So that was the first thing that I stopped when I was running my business in person. I stopped the evenings and the weekends. But even then, I think for me, it was very much a personal reassessment of what I wanted my life to look like. So it was, this is how I want my life to look, but also a difference in the role. Like I feel like over the last 10 years, I've put so much knowledge into my head, like about dogs and training and behavior. And I'm like, I just want people to know it. Like I just want to be like, here's the knowledge. And I want those people to go off and to use it and make their lives better. And I feel like to get that across in a one-to-one when you're in person, you kind of focus on a few things and you do those things well. But I feel like online, there's so much more scope for me to be like, here's all of these things and you can take your time and you can dip into it. So I suppose it was a two-pronged thing. It was my personal life and my home life that I wanted to change, but also the way that I wanted people to get the information. And the information I had, it's a real drive to get it out. So at the moment, I've got a membership and it's £10. It's really, really cheap. And it's just because I've got all of this stuff that lives on my computer that I've developed over the years. And it's not being used. And I'm like, but it's still good stuff. Obviously, I'm updating it, but I'm just like, I just want somewhere for it to all go. And people can they've just got this place to go to that they can, I've got a question about, I don't know, recall. I'll go and have a look on the membership and see what's on there. And it's a place where people can trust. And I think that's part of it. It's a change in the delivery of knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think another key thing you mentioned in that was you decided to look at how you wanted to design your life. So I think it's a big mindset shift that's needed for a lot of people to go, I can actually work the hours that I want to work. And again, I think a lot of us in this industry it's almost like an excuse, isn't it? Or it's almost like the story we tell ourselves that, oh, well, because people work full time, we have to work evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, we'd all be a little bit screwed if that was the case, because there's only so many hours of an evening and a weekend you can do anyway. So talk us through and what do you think the listeners might be, I don't know, like useful to hear on how you tackled that mindset approach is to go, okay, I've made the decision I don't want to work evenings and weekends, but now I've actually got to put that into practice and tell my brain that I can do that. Talk us through that and how you tackled that.
Yeah, so I did. I mean, during this time, like 2018, 2019, I started doing a lot of like business coaching, self-development, lots of different, just online free things that I would find and different podcasts and books. So I really kind of started to change my mindset in that way anyway. So I think that helped. And I think for me, I mean, I'd done it for so long. And then I had my sister, my cousin, who I spent a lot of time with. They were working jobs where it was 9 till 5. And I was missing out on so much. So they would do things on a Saturday and I wouldn't be able to go because I had training classes or I had an event. And I think for me, I just really had to think, what's more important, my family or work? And having that shift of, for me, I'm very much like I have this thing on my phone and it's called Lauren's Rules and it's from like 2017. I don't know, all of us probably have something on notes on our phone. And it's like, whenever I did something and it really stressed me, I would write down like, I'm not doing that again. And so I just kind of built up these rules. And I feel like for me, I'm someone where if I'm like, right, I am not doing a Saturday from this date, I won't do it. Like I'm very much kind of black and white in that way of I'm not going to do it. But I did have it takes me a long time to make the change. So I'll be thinking about it and I'll be going, this gets on my nerves. I'm going to write about, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, right, this is the day and I'm not going to do it from then on. And I think for people who are listening, I would probably just say, think about, you've got to sometimes put yourself first and you've got to look after yourself. And I think the problem with dog training that I see is people don't look after themselves and then they burn out and then they quit the industry and then we lose. I mean, the number of people we've lost over the years who have just gone, and it's not losing because they've moved on to something better. It's like, I can't do this. I've burnt out. I'm done with dogs. It's really sad to see it because so many good people have gone. And I think from that, I would say you need to look after yourself. You need to go like, what do I need to make this a sustainable job long term? Because it's not like working evenings and weekends and missing out on all your family stuff and being exhausted and having that burden of responsibility on you. That's not sustainable. So it's really kind of future-proofing it for yourself so you know that you can carry on doing it. So I suppose for me, I just thought, I know that I can't continue doing this. So the first change is let's take away the evenings, take away the weekends. And it's not to say, there might be some areas in the country where you might need to work an evening. I don't know. There might be some situations where evenings aren't, an evening is needed. But I would say to people, be strict. Like if that's a Thursday evening, that's a Thursday evening. Don't let it leak into, I'll do just this Tuesday, just this once. Like you've got to be so strict on your rules. And yeah, that's the way that I did it. I mean, I don't know if it would work for everyone, but it's leading yourself up to it and then taking the action.